I never really spent a lot time with my family. I guess most of it falls on me, but I always had an excuse though. I have to work. Sorry, I'm busy right now. I'm tired, maybe tomorrow. You know how it goes. I don't think I felt good about it, but at the same time it couldn't be helped, you know? I had responsibilities. Important stuff to take care of. Diane, my wife, never saw it like that, of course. She always went on and on about how I cared more about work than my family. And I did, to some extent. My family didn't need me home 24/7, they could manage without me. My company, on the other hand, could not. Priorities. I guess that's why she stuck me with Amelia when I had to drive up to Fletcher's Ridge to survey a property for potential purchase. Priorities, she told me. Get them fucking sorted. My wife was spending the day with her mother. Her health had been failing lately, and I suppose it was only a matter of time before the old bat kicked the bucket. Good riddance, I say. Not sure my wife would agree though. The property, an old abandoned farm, was generally in a bad state, but came with a veritable shit bunch of land which I could easily flip for a massive profit to the county, with a little bit of finagling. Apparently the place had some dark history or other, but I never bothered with the details. If it didn't somehow interfere with my plans to level the ancient shitpile to the ground, I failed to see the importance. I let Amelia run around doing whatever kids do whilst I perused the state of the place, and I guess she must have fallen into the well almost instantly, because I didn't even make it to the piece of shit house before I heard her desperate cries for help. Help! Daddy! Down here! I spent 5 minutes chasing her weirdly echoing voice, but it seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. I was seriously starting to freak out, dark, sobering thoughts running through my head. What would my wife think? Would she notice our daughter was gone? How do I spin this in my favor? Daddy! I suddenly heard right below me. Another step, and I would have tumbled right into the well with her. It was hidden more or less inside an overgrown bush, the roughly cut stones barely even visible if you didn't already know they were there. Honey? I yelled into the bush. Amelia? Are you down there? Yes. She yelled back. Help me up, Daddy. I wasn't much of a MacGyver, if that name even means anything to anyone anymore, but I quickly realized a rope would probably be the go-to utility for this particular task. Hang on, honey. I yelled. I'll get you up. I ran to the ramshackle-looking outhouse, and rummaged through piles of old garbage, before finally finding a coil of rope that looked like it was strong enough to carry an 8-year-old. I was in a state of rising panic, and I felt a knot in my stomach that I simply couldn't ignore. I paused a second to embrace the feeling, to let it fill every aspect of my being, before I returned to the well, quickly lowering down the rope. Can you grab it? I yelled. Yes. She yelled back. I got it. It didn't take much to pull her out, but the well must have been pretty deep because I had to use almost the entire length of rope. As soon as she was up, I hugged her tightly, and carried her to the car. She seemed fine though. Not a scratch on her body. Not even any dirt on her white summer dress. I rejoiced internally, my wife never had to know. Let's go home, honey, I said. But let's not tell mommy about this, okay? Wouldn't want her to get worried. I glanced periodically at her in the rearview mirror on the way home, but she didn't even seem fazed. Maybe she was in shock? Or maybe kids are just better equipped to deal with shit like that? I shrugged mentally. It didn't really matter. She was unharmed, physically. That's the important part. Keep the innards on the inside, as they say. I started to worry already the moment we got home. Amelia had been silent the whole ride, and she didn't seem like herself at all. That's the thing though, I had absolutely no idea how she'd normally behave. Was she inquisitive and adventurous? Or was she all quiet and introverted? Parents should know these things, shouldn't they? She sauntered out of the car without so much as a glance my way, and quietly disappeared inside. I followed hesitantly, my mind racing to connect years of missing dots. You wanna watch some TV? I asked. I bet your favorite show is on. I flipped through the channels idly. Sports, news, sports. Nothing that seemed even remotely interesting for children. After a while, I just sat down with her on the couch, twiddling my thumbs. It was becoming more and more apparent that I was hopelessly out of my element. I like talking to faces, Amelia whispered. Inside-out faces, like in the ceiling. That's interesting? I offered. It wasn't though. It was very unnerving. She was staring at the ceiling, an intense, unflinching gaze that sent shivers down my spine. If you listen, really, really, carefully, she grimaced. You can hear them talking back. I nodded weakly, and tried not to look directly at her. She had an active imagination, that much seemed clear. How had I not noticed this behavior earlier? I'll go fix us something to eat, okay? I tried to feign a warm smile. Are you hungry? She turned to me and nodded energetically. But it wasn't a normal nod, you know? It was like she threw her head all the way back, then swung it forward with all her might. Kids, right? I shuddered briefly, and hurried to the kitchen. So what do you like? I asked. Peanut butter? Jelly? A combination thereof? Anything with a soul, her voice whispered right into my ear. Shit! I shrieked, nearly slicing off a finger as I lost control over the bread knife. I turned on the dime, almost losing it again when I saw Amelia standing right behind me. I felt the knot in my stomach tightening again. Amelia, honey, I murmured. Are you okay? She was pale as snow, her pallid face drained of all color. Her hair looked different too. How did it usually look? It wasn't normally so sickly thin and graying, was it? And then there was the issue with her brown, rotting teeth. We took dental hygiene pretty seriously in our household, didn't we? I'm famished, she grinned. Need sustenance. She seemed unnaturally gaunt. Just skin stretched over bones, her dress hanging limply from the lethargic frame. She used to look healthy and lifelike, right? I'm sure she did. Please, Daddy, she gurgled hideously. Something living. She had to be sick. Some bug, or virus, or something. Maybe she did hurt herself down in that well after all? Caught an infection possibly? Maybe she had rabies? I panicked, my mind struggling to find references to what I should do next. Mom, I whispered. We need to call your mom. With trembling hands, I grabbed my phone and called Diane. She'd know what to do. She always knew what to do. Honey? Her soft voice answered. Is everything okay at home? No, I don't know, maybe, I stammered. It's Amelia. Amelia smiled at the mention of her name. Only it wasn't so much a smile as it was her lips curling back, revealing nothing but blackish flesh and rotting teeth. I swallowed deeply. Amelia? She asked. Yes, Amelia. I yelled. Our daughter. There was a long pause, and I could hear her breathing heavily on the other end. Amelia was inches away from my face now, her long, black tongue hanging out of her mouth limply. Her brown teeth were falling out one by one as the expanding tongue demanded ever more space. Noah, Diane said, are you okay? Have you been drinking? Doing shrooms again? What? No. I yelled. I really think there's something wrong with our daughter. Why is that so hard to believe? Amelia put her writhing worm-like hand in mine, squeezing gently. Her black hole eyes beckoned me to put down the phone. It's very hard to believe, Noah, Diane said, pausing momentarily. Because we don't have any fucking kids. Acidostrophobia. A fear of falling into the sky. The first time I experienced it I was a kid, lying on a summery lawn looking up into the clear blue above. I imagine the sensation is like a reverse vertigo, the sky suddenly coming closer, a feeling as if gravity no longer applies, then the horrifying realization that you're slowly floating upwards. The day I fell into the sky I was 16, and madly in love. I remember lying in the park, staring into Sarah Dawson's bright blue eyes. I wanted so badly to just move in for the kiss, but I chickened out, instead turning my gaze to the clear azure above. It happened just like it had happened so many times before. My gaze drifted into the endless blue, I felt detached from reality, the sky lowering, my body light as a feather, panic gripping my heart. And then I fell. I launched into the sky screaming. Within seconds I was hundreds of yards into the air, and the pressure in my head was building rapidly. Breathing soon became impossible, and I finally passed out. I woke up in unimaginable pain. Dread overcame me when I realized I couldn't move a single muscle. We got a live one, Doc, a man's voice called. How are the organs? Another voice replied. Could use a couple of weeks. Put it back under then. I was suspended in the air. A dark room, two blurry silhouettes moving around methodically. I tried to scream, but there came no sound. Just horrid echoes in my mind. I don't know why it took me so long to realize. One of the men, blurry silhouettes, prodded me idly, every touch like a million needles inserted directly into my nerve endings. Where are my feet? It's conscious, Doc, the figure said. So? Put it back under. Won't it remember? Does it matter? Where are my arms? I was a dangling torso, suspended in the air by pulsating cyst-ridden organic wires. My skin was ashen gray, covered in scars, the deep gashes dripping with disgusting yellow pus. Wouldn't it be disrupted? The figure asked. It will fade, the other voice reasoned, minor changes, perhaps, but minuscule in detail. Overloading pain receptors then. With a swift motion the figure stuck his hand into my torso. Have you ever experienced pain so great that your mind cannot handle it? Every synapses lighting up in pure torment? It was like that, except multiplied endlessly. Sleep now, the figure said. It was just a dream. Then everything went black. I woke up screaming. Sarah did her best to calm me down, but it still took me hours to come back from that gruesome nightmare. But it wasn't real. Was it? No. Sarah caressed my hair, and whispered that she loved me. I guess that did it. Grounded me again. I stared into her eyes, and finally found courage to kiss her. I've always been a sucker